There's a really good article in Slate by Jeremy Stahl called The Total Humiliation of Dr. Oz and Trump in Pennsylvania. And there's a couple of different perspectives about what took place in Pennsylvania, but a great starting point is this article by Jeremy Stahl. And Jeremy Stahl points out, most importantly, Fetterman beat New Jersey-based crudité-loving TV celebrity Dr. Mehmet Oz. And Stahl correctly points out it wasn't a guarantee. Fetterman ran several points behind the winning Democratic gubernatorial candidate Josh Shapiro. It's easy to imagine that a strong Republican candidate could have beaten Fetterman in a race that may well determine control in the Senate. Indeed, Republicans had a real opportunity to select that strong challenger, specifically the relatively moderate hedge fund manager and former Treasury Department official David McCormick, who finished second in the Republican primary by just 951 votes. Stahl makes the case, and I believe he's right, that were it not for Trump's endorsement of Oz, McCormick would have won the primary. And it is completely plausible that if McCormick wins the primary, he defeats Fetterman. It quite literally, if the Senate ends up 50-50 in favor of Democrats because of Kamala Harris as the tie-breaking vote, you could accurately blame Trump for losing Republicans the Senate by jumping in and endorsing Oz rather than McCormick or staying out of it altogether. A couple of different things here. One of the aspects to this race that got very ugly was essentially the stroke shaming that took place by many Republicans after John Fetterman suffered a stroke months ago and struggling with auditory processing, not cognitively, but struggling with auditory processing. The Oz campaign put out some ads ridiculing Fetterman's health, although Oz personally said it wasn't me doing that, but it was still attached to the campaign. At the debate, even some of my viewers, never mind the Republicans, were kind of making fun of Fetterman for the way that he was speaking. And one of the crazy things is, they were out there calling him, and I apologize for these terms, they were saying he's a retard. People were saying, based on how he's speaking, he's a retard. He's brain damaged, blah, 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 blah. He won. Okay. At some point, when it came to Trump lost to Biden, who was in his basement, that's not believable. The flip side of it is, how humiliating is it that Trump lost to a guy who didn't leave his basement, right? Like if anyone concedes that that's what Biden did, it makes it all the more embarrassing that Trump lost to that guy. Now, of course, they say he didn't really lose, it was fraud. Put that aside for a moment. For all their criticisms of Fetterman, which include just making fun of the guy for a medical problem that he had, doesn't it make it all the more embarrassing to Oz that he couldn't beat the guy that they describe as a mentally retarded person? It should really make them think, wow, these candidates are terrible. Now, they may ultimately start claiming fraud, and some of them are anecdotally or whatever the case may be. But crudité did not take Oz to victory. And to me, the really scary thing is that Oz didn't lose by more. When you look at what happened in Florida, DeSantis won by 19. That is brutal. The polling had DeSantis up like 11, which would be bad enough. And ultimately, DeSantis lost by like 19. And that is signaling the strength of the DeSantis wing of the party. On the other hand, Oz lost. He didn't even lose by that much, and he should be glad about that. But Pennsylvania rapidly becoming the biggest humiliation for Trump and Republicans. And we're going to talk about the endorsement record a little bit later. Just remember, endorsing incumbents and Republican nominees in red districts is not a difficult way to run up your score for endorsements. When you have actual tough races where the primary winner might actually affect who wins, in the case of McCormick versus Oz, it almost certainly did. Trump's record is a disaster. And this is why Rupert Murdoch and some others are pulling the ripcord and trying to get the hell out of here. Make sure that you are subscribed to the David Pakman Show on YouTube, or that you've liked our Facebook page, or that you're following us on Twitch. That's where all of the streams will take place. The upcoming stream in support of Raphael Warnock will be on those three platforms. The Trump announcement next Tuesday will be on those platforms. Election results on December 6th will be streaming on those platforms. Make sure you're following, subscribed, whatever. It is all completely free.